According to the Washington Post, Donald Trump has filed bankruptcy 6 times, yet he's still a billionaire and the President of the United States. How is that possible? I'm Jonathan Ginsberg. I'm an Atlanta area personal bankruptcy attorney. And I'd like to tell you that bankruptcy is the same for you and me as it would be for somebody like Donald Trump or singers Tony Braxton, 50 Cent, or any number of other famous people who file bankruptcy. And in fact, the laws are the same. But people who are extremely wealthy or with a lot of skills may have an advantage over you and me when it comes to bankruptcy. And there's a simple reason for this. A lot of times when people like Donald Trump file bankruptcy or famous singers file bankruptcy, celebrities, I think I saw where some of the Real Housewives have filed bankruptcy and have come out looking pretty good. And the reason for this is that a lot of these folks have options that you and I don't. That is, if you're a famous singer and you file bankruptcy, you may be insolvent, you may have tens of millions of dollars of debt. They can go on tour next year and get it all back. They can go and make a new album and get it all back in a year or two, whereas you and I really can't do that. So that's one issue, is that people who have a great amount of talent or connections or just good fortune have the ability to recover because they have more leverage than you and I might do. And realize money makes bankruptcy problems go away. Also realize a lot of people, when they file bankruptcy, these wealthy folks file bankruptcy, they're doing a reorganization. In other words, they're not insolvent. They're not going and liquidating everything they've got. They're going into a repayment plan. You and I would file Chapter 13, which is a personal repayment plan, but a wealthy celebrity might file a Chapter 11. And they're filing an 11 because they've got a ton of debt, but they're doing so because they have a problem with timing. They have the capacity to earn hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, but right now they don't have the money. So they need to tie things up for a while. So they file bankruptcy and they can tie things up for 5 or 6 months or a year. And then either the money comes in and they can make all this go away, or they can use that time to negotiate better deals with their creditors. And that's what happens a lot of times. And in fact, Trump, when he's filed bankruptcy, these have all been corporate bankruptcy. It's not personal. It's corporations that file bankruptcy. What he does is he will file bankruptcy on a real estate project, for example. And then after 6, 8, 9 months, many of the creditors get tired of waiting and having things tied up. They're able to go in, the Trump companies are able to go in and negotiate better deals with the creditors, and then they dismiss the bankruptcy, pay what they've agreed to pay, and move on. And some people find this obnoxious behavior. They think it's unethical behavior, and other people say this is what the law allows, but that's what's happening. It's not that they're having different laws that apply to them, but they're using bankruptcy as a form of leverage. And realize, if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. If you owe your local bank $15 million, $20 million, they don't want to see you out of business because that's a huge liability in their balance sheet. They'd much rather refinance it, work something out with you, do anything but to see you liquidate, because you probably owe other people a bunch of money as well, and they're not going to see anything anytime soon, if at all. But if you owe the bank $10,000, $5,000, well, they don't really care. They just as soon see you go, it's just one thing off their balance sheet. They'd see you liquidate it. Maybe they get paid, maybe they don't, but it doesn't really change their bottom line any. So someone who owes a bank, $30, $40 million is in a much better position to negotiate a deal than you or I would if we owe $10,000 or $15,000. That's just the reality of economics. Again, it may not seem fair, it may not seem right, but that's the reality of economics. So that's why people who are very well off go into bankruptcy many times come out where they've worked out pretty good deals on their claims. They've had to pay back some of their debt, but they really come out not really all that well damaged. In fact, I remember there was a very famous case a number of years ago, and if you remember back in the 70s and 80s, the baseball commissioner at the time was a guy named Bowie Kuhn, and he moved to Florida. At the time, Florida had some unusual laws about real estate exemptions, and he parked all his money in a house, $1 million house, and this is in the 1980s, I think, or 70s. He parked his money in $1 million house, and then his company, he was a lawyer, his company's law firm up in New York goes into bankruptcy. Well, at the time, Florida had a law, rules, that said that you could protect your homestead no matter what the value of it was. Now, again, that's very different. In Georgia, we have limitations, $21,500 of equity to be specific, but in Florida at the time, it could be unlimited, and it's still unlimited, but with more limitations in terms of how it applies. But the bottom line is that Mr. Kuhn was able to go into a bankruptcy, essentially park all of his money in a $1 million property, and come out of bankruptcy, not give up anything at all. So again, they changed the rules there. They call it the Bowie-Kuhn rule because they changed it. But people who have a lot of money, access to really good attorneys, who can use Chapter 11 to reorganize or to push the law maybe to levels it wasn't intended to be pushed, they can come out of bankruptcy looking a lot better than you or me, who is dealing with debts in the thousands of or tens of thousands of dollars. We don't have nearly as much leverage. So it's not that the laws are different or that rich people have special rules that apply to them, but they're able to use laws that were designed maybe for one thing and use it for something else, and to come out looking a lot better. So again, laws are not any different, but sometimes the application is going to be a little bit different, and it seems really unfair, seems sometimes borderline unethical, but that's the way the law works. And nothing we can do about it except move on, do the best we can with how the laws apply to us. Hope you found this helpful. This is Jonathan Ginsberg. If you have any questions about personal bankruptcy, please reach out to me. I'm at 770-393-4985. Thanks a lot. Hi, this is Jonathan, and I hope you found this video helpful. I'd like to invite you to download my free Debt Destroyer Survival Kit right now. I've packed my survival kit with answers to the questions I've heard from clients for over 25 years here in the Atlanta area. Inside the survival kit, you'll find clear, easy to understand answers to critical topics about how to solve debt problems once and for all, including how do I protect my stuff, my house, car, and personal property if I file for bankruptcy? Are there any legitimate alternatives to bankruptcy? Will I ever get credit again, and if so, when? What mistakes must I avoid to get the most benefit out of bankruptcy? You can claim your copy right now by visiting my atlanta-bankruptcy.com website. And you are always welcome to use the email form on my website to ask me anything about debt and personal bankruptcy in Atlanta. www.atlanta-bankruptcy.com. And as always, I wish you the best.